Hey guys, this is going to be part 2 of episode 61. We're going to continue our discussion with Jim Korkis. We are in the thick of things.
Yeah, strap back in.
Yeah, and at the end of this segment, we're going to talk about the listener questions to see who submits the best question, and
Winner.
the winner will get something very, very cool.
Yep.
The winner will be getting a book when it comes out. Hopefully at the end of June, we're going to order it for you guys or whoever wins. And there will be something special also with that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So here's part 2. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we have a few listener questions here. So we're going to get to those.
Boy, this is the never-ending podcast.
I know, right?
Actually, you should probably divide this up into like 2 podcasts or whatever. But anyway, yeah. No, this is fine. What do these little darlings want to ask me?
The first, should I say the user's name, or is this we want to pick? Okay.
Why not? Yeah.
The first listener.
My suggestion is use their first name. So if it's like Renee, say Renee wants to know, because Renee will know it's their question, and they'll get so excited. Yeah. Okay. They asked my question. Yeah. But that way it keeps a little bit of privacy there.
Yeah. Okay, go for it.
The first listener's name is Mommy Baloo. Asked, she wants to know, what is the one Disneyland attraction that was planned but never built that you wish would have been?
That tunnel, I'm thinking right now.
Oh, gosh. What is the one that I wish was built?
You had planned,
never was, because there were all so many. One of the ones Walt wanted to build was, he owned the rights to the Oz books at one point, and so he was going to build Big Rock Candy Mountain.
Oh, wow.
And as you went through the boat, so it would have been like the storybook land boats. You went into the mountain, and there were different scenes from the Oz stories, and so that was, that's nice. Actually, Walt had an idea for an attraction where you had this huge, what would now be considered an IMAX screen.
Okay.
And you projected a Western on it, but the ride vehicles were all these horses. And you would mount the horse.
Oh.
But the horse was electronically controlled, so you would be moving in time with the screen in front of you. So you would be with the posse chasing the bad guy. I'm trying to think of a Walt idea, because again, at one point, Mark Davis came up with and this is, decades before Frozen came out, where you would go into the Ice Queen's palace. And he said, because it's so hot out in California, it's so hot out in Florida, let's have an attraction where you go in and it's this ice kingdom, and you have skating penguins and all of this. And at the end, you confront the Ice Queen, and she raises her hands, and this snow flurry is sent towards you as you then exit out into the hot California sun or the hot Florida sun. For that to happen, the submarine ride, one of the original plans until Atlantis, just tanked, was they were going to change it so that you were in the vehicle and you were going to the undersea world of Atlantis. And in fact, in your seats, you also had grabbers. So you didn't just look out through the porthole. Your hands could operate these grabbers to try and grab some of the treasure
Nice.
that had spilled out there of things that happened. And Walt actually wanted a whole Lilliputian land.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
where all of the food was miniature. So you'd buy these little miniature hot dogs, at the food and beverage location, and he would use his Carrollwood Pacific train. But yes, everything would be tiny, and then he was actually going to have a working ranch too. So I'd want it all, but the problem is wanting it all. What are you willing to give up?
Yeah,
sure.
In order for us to have Space Mountain, had to give up the flying saucers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you needed that land, you needed that imprint, for that to happen. So if you did get one of those never made attractions, what would you give up? Out here at Walt Disney World, I wouldn't hesitate. I would have wanted Beastly Kingdom, which was Joe Rohde's concept, and that was where Pandora is now and where Camp Mickey Minnie was. And basically, you walked across the troll bridge where you had to watch out for the troll. And then you went into this magical land, which was divided into a good section and a bad section. And the bad section had this destroyed castle, which was the home to this dragon that was hoarding all of this gold. So very much like Smaug in the Tolkien books. And what you do is you go through this tunnel, and there are bats who are thieves, and they whisper to you and convince you that, yes, the dragon is asleep. We can go steal that treasure. And so you're hooked into this hanging roller coaster, so that you're flying along. You're facing down. You're flying along just like a bat into the castle where there's collapsing walls and at the end the dragon. You're confronted and he's unhappy and he does flames and there was a Loch Ness monster restaurant where you didn't have a silly sea serpent. You had a really frightening sea serpent come out. And in the good section you had Fantasia Gardens, where you're going through, Greek architecture, and there's fawns and there's unicorns, and there's all of that. And if I couldn't have had that, I would have gone with Fire Mountain, which they had planned for out here, which was actually the villains. So there's this huge lava mountain, and it's a roller coaster type thing where you go in, and villains, the Disney villains, are having a meeting about taking over the park.
Wow.
I would want that.
And they see that you have heard their plans, and so they are chasing you through the mountain and through the lava, and you are hanging over lava. And out here at Walt Disney World, they actually set up balloons to check heights, because you want to make sure where can this be seen, where, what cannot be seen, and all that. And of course, the finale is you're sliding down this lava sluice on the outside of the mountain.
That's really cool.
So there's always always great things, but again, what are you willing to give up? Are you willing to give up the Haunted Mansion?
No.
Are you willing to give up the Tiki Room? Are you willing,
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons they push beyond the berm. But just like my own belt, I don't think that berm can be pushed any
further. I love that. That's so cool.
All right. So actually, that listener, her name was Jamie. So now we're going to go to the next listener, Fernando. And I'm just going to read his question. I am not a DCA hater at all. I often find myself there more than I do at Disneyland. Beer makes parenting fun. Okay. That being said, what did Disney fail to do with DCA that give it that magical feeling that Disneyland has? I know that it would never...
Again, they went on the cheap.
Yeah.
Okay.
The original DCA, of course, not done by Imagineers, done by the Disney Development Company because it was cheaper. And so Eisner made that purposeful choice. And so it didn't go through that entire blue sky process where you sit down and you say, is this really a good idea to have a park devoted to California?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Eisner's concept was, we're going to bring, when people come to California, you know, they want to see all these different things. If we have it here, they'll just come here. They won't go to those other places. And that was actually Eisner's philosophy. You know, Animal Kingdom was built not because Walt Disney always loved animals.
Yeah.
No, animals are a pain in the butt to take care of, you know, and there were tremendous cost overruns. He built Animal Kingdom so that it could steal tourists from Busch Gardens that had live animal encounters and had thrill rides. And so Animal Kingdom was actually going to have more thrill rides. There was going to be the excavator ride in Dino Land and all that. There were going to be several roller coaster type things, and it all just cut back and cut back and cut back. And so Beastly Kingdom was one of the first to go. Basically, it was, we can either have Beastly Kingdom or we can have Dino Land. Wait a minute, we've got a movie called Dinosaur coming out. Beastly Kingdom we're going to put on the shelf for right now. The reason Pleasure Island came was because there were all these wonderful themed nightclubs at Church Street Station. And so Eisner says, we're going to do that so that money does not leave Disney property.
Yeah.
And so Disney California Adventure was not done by Imagineers. It was done by what was called the Disney Development Company. And it was done on the cheap.
Yeah.
And I think people sensed that.
Yeah.
Because, and you really sense that when you see the new additions that have been done.
Yes.
You take a look at Buena Vista Street. You take a look at Cars Land, and you go,
oh, yeah.
okay, this works.
Yeah.
If that had been there when
From the
Disney
beginning.
California Adventure opened, it would have been an entirely different experience. I always remember what John Hench told me. I said, well, what about Disney California Adventure? And he said, I liked it better as a parking lot.
Yep.
No.
And that's
And in fact, I personally liked it better as a parking lot because you could park in the parking lot and then you could walk into Disneyland.
Oh, I remember
all
those
of these
days.
parking structures and all of this nonsense. It's like, you know, you're really putting me in a bad mood before I even get to Disneyland.
You are.
Yeah.
And then when I leave Disneyland, you're putting me back into a bad mood.
Yeah,
This doesn't seem like a good business philosophy here. But with Disney California Adventure, basically, and again, they did do some nice touches. There was some nice attention to detail. But I like to say most of the ingredients were there, but it wasn't soup yet.
Okay.
You know, it didn't congeal together and hold together. Disneyland, one of the reasons Disneyland stands out is it's a coherent story experience. And so even if you don't know all these little details, you know, that we've been talking about, instinctively it feels right. Right?
Yep.
Instinctively, it makes sense to you.
Yep.
You know, instinctively, you know where you're going. You don't feel lost.
Yeah.
And that was done purposely. Disney California Adventure, first time I went to Disney California Adventure, I couldn't figure out where I am.
Very
Wait,
true.
how do I get to the pier? Where's this? Where's that? But again, I think, you know, they have invested some good changes into the park. I love the concept of Buena Vista Boulevard there. You know, I love the fact that you've got another statue there that's symbolic of Walt arriving, you know, in California. I think there's an awful lot of missed opportunities, but, you know, they're doing that. A funny thing, I was when I first saw Cars Land, you know, I was standing in line, and there was a kid next to me, a little kid, talking to mother, and said, "Is this where they filmed Cars?" and so I thought, this is what we want to feel. That
Yeah.
this
Oh,
is
yeah.
real.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
There's a reality here, and we're part of that reality. We're actors involved with that. So anyway, you asked me for time, what the time was, and I built a clock. But yeah, Disney California Adventure, not done by Imagineers.
Yep.
They are making it. They are making it better, but it's still not soup yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. Okay, we have one last question from a listener, and this one is from Dan. And okay, so Dan says, "Hi everyone at the LTP family. Here's my question: How and why did Walt come up with the different lands of the park, and why are they in the order that they are?"
Oh, wow.
I know, I thought that was a good question.
Great. Oh, Dan, I absolutely love you because I love it when people ask questions that I know the answer to because it makes me seem so smart. I could only love you more if you were a cute young lady who was a registered nurse and a certified librarian and was independently wealthy. But beyond that, you have to realize that Disneyland was built in the mid-1950s. And so Walt designed Disneyland basically because he wanted this to be a film experience. Basically, these are film sets, and you are the actors. So the film set is not complete until the actor is on the set.
Yeah.
All right? And so he looked at the most popular movie genres of the 1950s. And so Main Street actually refers to the Frank Capra films, the Andy Hardy films, turn of the century films. And Main Street is there as a transition for you because Main Street looks like the reality that you have come from.
Okay.
There are streets. There are buildings. There are cars. All right? But they're all different.
Yeah.
And they're all different scale. So
Okay.
Walt is transitioning you from the real world that you were in. Now you're moving very slowly into a fantasy world.
Yeah.
All right? And so there are things that are familiar, but they're really unfamiliar. And so already your mind, especially since you're using that forced perspective, so that it looks like, that's like a real building, your mind is telling you there's something off here. It's
Right.
not right. It's, and so you're going with that. Now, Adventureland, in the 1950s, they were still showing Tarzan movies on TV. They had Sheena, Queen of the Jungle. They had Rama of the Jungle. They even had a Jungle Jim TV series with Johnny Weissmuller in it and all of that. And again, so that was very popular. And also the fact that in those days, people didn't travel. So they never had these experiences. They only saw them on TV. And so sometimes you didn't even see it on TV. Sometimes you would have guest lecturers who would come to schools or to groups to show films that they had shot of their travels in order to raise money, for more travels. So you have Adventureland. And the reason you have Adventureland where it is because there was already foliage existing there. In the original plan, Adventureland was going to be on the other side of the park. But there were already existing trees and things like that, and it was expensive to buy stuff. So you already have that stuff growing, so we'll have it right over there where it's already growing. And, you had the canopies over the top of the Jungle Cruise boats so that you couldn't see that all the foliage hadn't grown up yet.
Okay.
Once it had, then you could rip off the canopy. And by the way, those Jungle Cruise boats and a lot of the design there was based on a Humphrey Bogart movie called The African Queen.
Yeah.
So the Jungle Cruise boats look exactly like the ones in the movie. And Harper Goff, who helped design that, also saw that in the movie, in order to save money, they didn't show animals. You only got a sense of animals, like the bushes moving and things like that. and so incorporated that into Adventureland. Okay? Now, next door is you've got Frontierland, and in the 1950s, Frontierland, there were Westerns on TV. There were Western movies. You know, you could see literally hours of Westerns on TV, you know, Wyatt Earp, all of this. Everybody wanted to be a cowboy. Nowadays, I guess cowboys and Indians are outdated. You want spacemen and aliens. But in those days, everybody wanted to be cowboys, and Walt wanted something in the park that would relate to American history, because he grew up hearing all of these stories. In fact, his father-in-law, Willard Bounds, was a sheriff on an Indian reservation. In fact, Walt's wife Lillian was born on a Nez Perce Indian reservation, and that's where she grew up and went to school. And in fact, when Disneyland opened, there was actually a blacksmith shop that had Willard Bounds blacksmith, because you couldn't make, just like you can't make money being a teacher, as I found. I was a public school teacher. You have to have something else. Willard Bounds, besides being sheriff, was also a blacksmith. And so you had that, and so you had those elements. And as I said, you had Owen Pope, who actually built the stagecoaches and all of this, so they were authentic. They had leather straps and all of this. And John Hench told Walt, listen, people won't notice. And Walt said, yes, they will. And if they don't, I will.
Yeah.
And so they had leather straps. No matter how tight money was, they had all of those little things there, because Walt was always interested in history, wanted something there to, you know, really... I know what I wanted at Disneyland, an attraction that never got built, so I'll get to that at the end. Next to Frontierland, because again, you got all those Westerns on TV and the movies, you have Fantasyland. Fantasyland cartoons. You'd go to the movies and you'd see a cartoon before the main feature, right? And so you have that, and interestingly enough, other than Mickey and Minnie and all of that, in Fantasyland, all of the cartoons were the feature films.
Okay.
And of course, Walt, being the great gambler that he was, you have Sleeping Beauty Castle. Why is that a gamble? Because Disneyland opens July 1955. Sleeping Beauty does not come out until the end of 1959.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So this is an example of the first time that an attraction opened before the film that it represents did. And then next to Fantasyland was Tomorrowland. And, of course, in the 1950s, that's where you have all the science fiction films.
Right.
But, again, Walt wanted science fiction. He didn't want science fantasy. That's why you don't have rides with, like, little green men, you know, or UFOs or things like that, because Walt wanted it factual, that this was possible. This could be possible. Tomorrowland was the world of the immediate future. It opened in 55. It was supposed to represent the world of 1986, when Halley's Comet would come back.
Yeah.
You know, and when Halley's Comet comes back, you know, it comes back very rarely, but it usually means that there's a transformation that's going to be happening. And so you have, but again, he was running out of money, so he was actually going to put up a big sign that said, Tomorrowland coming in the future. But what happened is the three segments on his TV show, the Tomorrowland segments, you know, about rocketry and going to the moon and Mars and beyond, they were so popular he had to have something. So he opened that, and of course he had to go to outside sponsors, and so you had Crane Plumbing that had an exhibit of the bathroom of tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
And you had Dutch Boy Paints, and whoever had money to open something, you know, because the only real attractions there were the trip to the moon and the Autopia.
Oh.
You know, and so he had to fill in, and that's why, you know, in '67 he because it was the one area he was most disappointed of, had to fill it in, and so Tomorrowland is there because there was no room for it on the other side where it was supposed to be, because you were supposed to go through Yesterland and then into Tomorrowland. So you still sort of do that now. As that goes through. And one of the things most of you don't realize is how many of you are right-handed? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. I can sense it psychically over here.
That 2 out of 3
the
are.
The entrance to Tomorrowland is 3 times larger than the entrance to Frontierland or Adventureland. Why is that?
Most people go right.
You go to the right.
Yeah. We go to the right when we go. Yeah.
Disney always says we don't control the people, we control the experience. Now, I remember now at Walt's attraction that was going to be built and never was, and boy, I would like that, and there is room for it even today.
Uh-oh.
So I don't have to give up anything. You know, Walt wanted, of course, an international street that would go parallel to Main Street, and then hit a cul-de-sac. And again, as you were walking down International Street, you would see facades of, you know, Spain and France and England. And then when you got down to the cul-de-sac and turned the other way, you saw the other side of the buildings, and they were facades for different things. And there was going to be a Chinese restaurant with the very first audio animatronic, Confucius, voiced by Wally Bogue, who, while you were eating, Confucius would come to life and give you wisdom. And again, he would be wearing, he's an old man, and he's wearing these long robes, so if there was jerkiness or whatever, you would just associate it with the old man. That's not what I want. And then Walt also wanted a Liberty Street that would have gone parallel, and that is very similar to what happened out here at Florida with Liberty Square. There would have been an attraction with all of the presidents, and there would have been an attraction telling the history of America. What I wanted, at the end of Main Street, right to the right before you get to the hub, Edison Square.
Oh, right.
Edison Square would have been for Thomas Edison, and would have had a statue with him in the square there. You'd have the electric lights, all of that. There was a show, a walk-through show that you would go that later developed into Carousel of Progress. But this one was much more exciting. You would go in, and again, you would have the 3 tiers, you know, with railings, you know, where people would stand and they would, you know, look at the show, and each segment would be about 7 minutes or whatever, and you're following, you know, through the different time periods, you know, the turn of the century, you know, the 1920s, then the 1940s, 50s, and then the last one would have been, you would have been in a space station in outer space.
Ooh.
And you could then actually go down and interact with these devices there. And and then the final room would be a display room with all the new things from General Electric. You know, but General Electric wasn't interested in that at all. And actually, there would have been a speaker, an electromechanical man. That's what they were before audio animatronics. Audio animatronics didn't exist until '63. Electromechanical meant that you had a figure that could repeat, you know, a certain action, like the Indian on the bank of the rivers of America that raises he's on horseback and he raises his hand and then lowers his hand, or the crocodile in the Jungle Cruise that opens and closes, or the natives that are, you know, bouncing around there. That they were called electromechanical because there was an electrical pulse that would go through, and mechanically open or close something or move something. And so you just repeat this, or the
cool.
giraffe that would duck down and then duck back up, type thing.
Yeah.
And then your mind just fills in all the other things.
Yeah.
But Edison Square, I would go with Edison Square because I don't have to give up anything else. And there's no Carousel of Progress at Disneyland anymore.
Yeah, so I mean, that would still be there, and that would be...
So it takes me a while, but I get there eventually. And so that's my answer.
All right.
Okay, so do you want to pick a winner then, Jim? From those 3 questions we had?
No, I don't want it. I want to be beloved. I think what you should do is you should put them in a bowl or something and mess them up and close your eyes and have somebody pick it up, but don't tell us who picked it up because then you don't know.
Okay.
And then whoever that person is, they need to write in with their name and address, and then you forward it to me. And again, they should let me know whether they just want an autograph, because some people just want an autograph because they're going to give it to friends, or they're going to give it to their family, or they're going to sell it on eBay or whatever. But some people want an inscription. I like an inscription.
I would too.
In my book. So I have like Marty Sklar goes, to Jim, Marty. And it's like, see, Marty really knew who I was. I didn't just pick up a book that said to Jim. He wrote this to me. So whether they want an autograph or that. So have you had a chance to mix those questions up there?
I was going to say I have my name. I know who my question
I have my favorite one.
Okay, you guys go.
I'll pick go. You say who?
You guys know who I'm going to say.
Dan.
Exactly.
I'm going to pick Dan too.
I say Dan had good.
Yeah,
Dan.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, we picked
they were all great questions, but.
Dan, even though you're not an attractive young lady who is a nurse and part-time librarian,
I think
you are the winner because you asked a question that I really knew the answer
really
to,
well.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate that because oftentimes I get asked questions and I look like a raccoon in the headlights. So again. Ask because again, you may not want it inscribed to you. You may want it inscribed to you and your wife, or your son, or your dog, or who knows? I've had people do that. I want to buy your book and I really want to read it, but I'm giving this to my sister. So could you make it out to her?
Yeah.
Right.
And so I do.
Okay.
Well, congratulations, Dan.
I hope this was fun for you guys.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. Like I could like sit here
and
forever,
I hope you learned a couple of things that you didn't know beforehand.
Quite a few.
I did.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
And for those of you who are listening and you want to be as smart as these podcasters, make sure you pick up a copy of Secret Stories of Disneyland and More Secret Stories of Disneyland, which will be coming out in June here. From themeparkpress.com, or it'll be on Amazon.com. And while you're there, take a look at some of the other books that I've written. I've written a lot of books about Walt Disney World, if you're interested in that. Some people aren't. If you're interested in Disneyland, I wrote a book called The Unofficial Disneyland 1955 Companion, where I interviewed... dozens of people who worked at Disneyland in 1955. So it only covers Disneyland in 1955.
Wow.
So it lists all of Walt's, all of the places that Walt looked at, before he built Disneyland, the different things that were originally going to be in Disneyland.
I want that book.
That's
I go land by land and I list every attraction, food and beverage, merchandise, place, who ran it, all of that. I have an entire section of quotes from people who worked there in 1955 giving their impressions of this. And, if you say, I want to take a time travel machine back to July 19, you wouldn't recognize Disneyland. Even if you went back in 58 or 59, you really wouldn't recognize Disneyland. Things were changing constantly there. But I got a lot of great comments from people who worked. Bob Gurr says he keeps a copy of it by his desk, so in case any interviewer wants to talk to him about 1955, he just goes to my book and opens it up. Sully Sullivan, who was one of the Jungle Cruise skippers there and later became a big executive out here at Walt Disney World, same thing. He mentioned it to other Disney execs like Bob Matheson and all of that. So I'm very proud of the book because, again, it's accurate. You want to know the names of the Native Americans who were in the Indian village, then you get a copy of the book.
Okay.
You want to know,
Yes, absolutely.
So again, that is the Disneyland 1955 companion. It only covers I say it only covers 1955. It also covers all of the Disneyland-related books that came out in 1955. The Disneyland TV show, all of the episodes in 1955. It covers all of the music, Disney music of 1955.
Wow.
And there's a small section at the end of Disneyland in 1956.
Okay.
Some of the things that popped up, and so far nobody has any corrections.
Well, good.
So if you're a Disneyland fan, you might want to do that. They might invite me back on this podcast where we'll take a time travel trip to 1955 and see how this was done by the seat of their pants and why they never had time to document. I interviewed the actress who played Snow White in the opening day parade.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have an interview with her in the book about what that was like on opening day and what it was like to be the very first Snow White at Disneyland.
How cool is that?
So hopefully it's cool enough that you guys will want to go out and
pick it up,
buy my books, and remember I'm an orphan. Remember Disney laid me off. Remember that I'm old, fat, and broke. And keep those things in mind. If I had the sad music in the background, I can do the big eyes. But this was so much fun being on the podcast. It is just so exciting for me to be with people who are so passionate about Disneyland, who have so much fun, but also have a good sense of, to question some of the things that Disney does.
Yep.
I'm wondering why Disney made that choice. If they made all these other good choices, why does this not seem like a good choice that they made this?
For sure.
Oh yeah, no, we'll definitely have to have you back on, and we'll dig into some of that other
stuff.
I
think Disneyland in 1955 is a really good idea, and
that
maybe
is a
we'll
fantastic idea. I think we're gonna have to take you up on that offer, right?
Yes, that is a challenge, and we are gonna take you up on that offer, and we're gonna have a walk through the park with you in 1955.
Oh, how cool would that be?
Terrific.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would love that. I was not there in 1950.
Oh, okay, sure.
I'm not that old, but I've certainly seen enough pictures. I've seen some home movies. I've talked with people who were there, and so you almost feel like a virtual reality that you can create. And in fact, we can even talk about the first Disneyland Christmas, because Walt insisted that even though they were out of money, they were going to celebrate Christmas in 1955. And Jack Lindquist told me that wonderful. Jack Lindquist was later became president of Disneyland. He was in charge of marketing at the time. And on Christmas Eve, he was standing on Main Street, and he saw this family that was a mother and a father and two little children, and they were looking in the window of the Emporium. They were obviously headed on their way out of the park. It was in the evening, and they were well dressed, but they weren't really well dressed, because some people came to the park wearing pearls and gloves and high heels and hats and jackets and things like that. And the little girl looked up to her mother and said, "You were right, Mom. This was much better than having Santa Claus come visit."
Oh.
And Jack Lindquist said, "My heart just broke." He said, I knew that they had to have made that choice between coming to Disneyland for Christmas, or the kids getting
Gifts.
presents. They didn't have money for both, and he said it just stuck with me. This is why we do what we do, and why we have to do better, and make it just that magical experience for the guests.
No.
Absolutely. Okay, so we will look forward to that. Maybe we'll do that this summer.
Yeah, summer. Well, yeah, a little while.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
I'm not going anywhere, and as I said, you probably want to break this up into at least 2 podcasts.
Yes.
Or 2 sections.
2 sections, yeah. We'll do like a release on a Monday and a release on like a Wednesday, just like a teaser.
yeah.
So, cool beans. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jim. And we'll be talking to you in a few months. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, and we'll be sending you Dan's address soon. Once the book comes out, we're gonna order one.
Definitely.
At least a couple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
My
thank
pleasure.
you, and you have a good night because I know you're a couple hours ahead of us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Jim.
I'm going to watch. Grab myself a dinner and watch some TV. That's how exciting the life of a Disney historian.
Yeah.
I like it. That's all right.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, Jim. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
All right.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
bye.
May all your Disney dreams come true.
Oh,
Thank
thank you.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh my gosh, you guys, we made it. We made it through this episode with Jim Korkis.
You made it through this episode. Our listeners, they made it through.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought I knew a lot. I didn't know a whole lot.
I don't know how many times we kind of looked around each other like, who knew that? Like
Yeah,
I don't know.
a
You probably
lot.
heard me going, what? Holy, I didn't know that.
Right.
The Haunted Mansion thing
Oh, I
blew
mean,
my mind.
I'm sitting here, and as much as I love that attraction, I'm like, wait, what? I had no clue that was
Mind
going on.
blown.
I had
Yeah.
no idea about that. I had no idea about Fire Mountain either.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
my gosh.
we could have honestly. When he's going, I didn't want to interrupt. I didn't want to interrupt and ask a question because I'm like, just go. Like I just want to sit down and listen to him.
Yeah.
And just go because I mean, so much coming, so much information, and such energy behind it it's.
It was awesome.
Freaking, like I said, if
Yeah.
you weren't inspired by this, I don't know, you're dead inside.
Yeah, and needless to say, I think everyone that comes on our show, any guest, we consider them part of the LTP family now, and
He definitely is.
yeah, and so we are probably in the summer we're going to have a walk through Disneyland in 1955 with him.
With him.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, it's going to be so cool.
It's going to be a long episode, but guys, it's going to be great.
Oh yeah, that'll be fantastic.
Yes, and for sure. Go to Amazon and check for Jim Korkis. And he's got 20 books out there right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to order the 1955 book.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think I need to get that one too.
And I just want to reiterate what he was saying about, we have to keep these stories going. I think we have to. I mean, I think every generation, not to get too corny, but every generation, one of their jobs is to continue tradition and stories and make sure that it continues down the road. And when people pass on, that's how they live on. And so having that, and he does talk about how a lot of the Imagineers are gone now, and so we have to keep those stories going.
Right.
And when they're not written down, they're difficult to track down. You have him doing that, and then we can read there and understand and recognize if you already have an affinity for the park and what Walt did.
Yeah.
Stories like this will do nothing more but then just show even more how brilliant it is. We all sit around the table and we think about all the time how brilliant the guy was. When you hear these stories, it just adds another, umpteenth million layers to that.
Oh, absolutely
So
does.
cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
It just was like, I love him. I love him.
Yeah.
She did say that.
Yes.
It's too bad you're not a registered nurse.
I know,
Otherwise,
right?
It's, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, and librarian.
Part-time.
Part-time.
Part-time librarian.
Librarian.
Yeah.
If you're a full-time librarian, forget it.
Yeah.
Forget it.
too
You got to be
much, too
RN.
much.
It has to be that mix. It has to be that mix.
Yeah, and I feel, again, I just feel like blessed, like literally blessed that we were able to talk about this for fun and get to
So
meet these
cool.
cool
Oh, yeah.
people and talk about things that we get to talk about. I don't understand. That's all I can say is I feel blessed and lucky that we're doing this. And
And
happy,
to add to that, we have...
I'm happy you guys are on board.
Yep, and then we do have, in that theme, we did get a new review.
Oh, yeah, let's do that real quick.
I'll bring it. You want me to bring it up? Or you have it?
I can pull it up.
Oh, I got it. I'm right here. So give me 1 second, I'll bring it up. We did get another review. and every time we get one of these, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's always awesome.
It's always awesome to kind of look at these things and kind of we're always taken aback on these. So the new one is, as soon as I bring it up here. So this one is was posted by, see if I get that right, Mommy Bellew. Is that right?
Is that who Jamie is?
I believe that's Jamie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Jamie. We don't know you, but
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead and read that, but I'll double check.
So this is her review. It's a 5-star review. Thank you. Yep, 5-star review. Thank you. And this first sentence kind of made me go, what? This is my go-to podcast for Disney updates and information. So I was like, cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It is
amazing. Yeah, I know. I was like, wait, what? I remember our text back and forth. I'm like, and I quoted her. I'm like, dude, that blows me away. Mark is like, so cool.
Yes.
I love listening to the super witty banter. Thank you. And honest opinions. That happens to coincide nicely with my own. I'm glad we all think alike. It feels like you are sitting around with your Disney loving friends and just having a great conversation. And just for the record, Pirates does not need a fast pass. So
preach it, girl.
Yep.
Preach it.
So we agree on that. And then the other part that I just want to say thank you for is what you said, how it feels like we're just sitting around a table talking. And
we literally are sitting around a table talking.
We are, but then we're glad that we can bring you in from wherever you guys are and join us in on that. So we've said it before, and I think we said it last episode, and this is what we're striving for, and I love the fact that that's the way it's coming off, and thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for the review. Thank you, everybody who's ever reviewed the show.
Yes.
Giving us 5 stars, or even not quite 5 stars. It doesn't matter.
It's always awesome.
The conversation's always fantastic.
They are, yes. And the fact that she said this is her go-to podcast.
That's pretty cool.
I never thought of it as being a go-to podcast, but hey, I'm glad you're coming here. We will continue to make sure with you that we are your go-to podcast.
Yep.
And also we do keep things real, and I think that's one of the things that Jim appreciated about us too, is that we just one of those podcasts that if it's not, we're going to call it like we call it.
Yeah, no, and that is one of the things that I've said from the very beginning. We will never try to push, prod, make any of us think a specific way, or any of you think of a specific way. If you disagree, feel free.
Yes.
With us, with the park, with everything. Open, honest dialogue between all of us is always important. I think it's just important for humanity in general. And so the fact that we can do that here in such a positive way is fantastic.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is going to end the Mammoth episode 61. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for this long. Episode 62 is coming up. We're going to record that in a couple weeks. We are going to continue our series on 5 Up and 3 Down. We are going to venture a little further west over to Critter Country. And we're going to have a special guest. I mean, it's the much beloved Jay Bratton is going to return. He's going to talk about Pixar fast food. And probably going to pick his brain about Critter Country as well, and and whatnot. And so definitely he's, again, LTP family.
Yep. LTP for life.
Yeah. Southern California member.
Yep.
Charter member.
Yep. Do I say the other special episode? Do you want to bring that up?
Go ahead, Udi.
Okay. So we have a lot of content hidden out, coming out here. We're going to have one massive, we kind of talked about it before.
Is it about Frontierland?
It is about Frontierland. We're going to have a 20-person panel on Frontierland.
Oh, my gosh.
The past, the present, and the future. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, gosh. Send me home now.
That just would be like, I'd strap
Well, you
her.
are home.
I am home, actually.
I have to tape her down in the chair like, you're not going anywhere. No, but we're going to do a massive, and it's been finalized now as of today. I know, it's logistic.
Yeah, the papers have been signed.
They've been, well, no, logistically, everyone's on board now. Officially, everyone's on board.
Jess doesn't sound like she's on board.
No, she's on board.
Know.
She's on
it'll be
board.
fine.
Yeah, she's fine. She already committed, and when she commits...
All right, what is it, Udi?
So we're going to do the massive solo show, all about solo. So we're going to combine 3 different podcasts.
Which ones are those?
We're going to combine this one here.
The LTP?
LTP, the Leaving Today podcast. We're going to combine my other show, the Bad or Bad podcast. And then we're going to throw in, to add the flavor, the cherry on top of it would be Joey from the Disney Universe podcast.
Yes.
Yay.
So he was actually on...
Just down the freeway from us.
Yeah. And
super close.
Yes.
And he was on my last, for Bad or Bad, he's been on a couple times now.
Okay.
He did our review for Deadpool 2. not for kids. Don't take your kids to that. But anyway, so he's on, and so he's on board. So we're expecting to have a good roundtable fun, and where you should get a lot of different angles from the movie.
Yes.
So we all have a different take on what this means, and so it'll be a massive. I don't think we're going to number it. It's just going to be like a here you go bonus, off we go.
Is Chad coming?
No, because he actually has to go protect the streets of Sacramento that night.
Darn it, Chad. Okay. Be safe.
Which I would love for him to be here, because that guy's, his knowledge for Star Wars is phenomenal.
Like Ricky level?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Phenomenal.
Okay.
But anyway, there you go. So Solo, I'm not sure when that's going to drop or anything. It's going to be, like I said, it's out of our normal sphere. It's not going to be a numbered episode, I don't think. It's just going to be kind of a bonus out there.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
All right, listeners. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for this long. It's been a long time. So between now and then, go check out expeditionroasters.com. Get some of their brand new brews. We had some tonight.
Chocolate raspberry.
Chocolate raspberry.
And the Fortune and Glory.
Which I'm having over ice, and I'm just about done with it.
And so just so everybody knows, Fortune and Glory has now tied with my Dark Side for my favorite. They're like 1-1.
Yeah.
Okay.
I enjoyed that one, yeah.
For my taste, it was a bit strong for me, so I cut it with a little bit of sugar, and it's really, really smooth. So seasoned to taste.
I'm a bourbon guy. So.
But it's really good. I found it quite enjoyable.
Great coffee.
And also go to tpublic.com, go to Leaving Today podcast or Leaving Today on there, and find a shirt that you like and wear it proudly. Take a picture of it and
tag us away.
Tag us away. Yes. Okay. Until then, Jess, where can people find you?
Let's see. There was one that I started to forget about, and I can't remember now what it was. I have a social media that I've been I stopped advertising. Oh, I know what I was talking
Facebook?
about. No, our YouTube page. I've just
Did we do anything with it?
Shit, and I tinker around every once in a while, but nothing like crazy. But I always forget that it's even there.
Okay.
And if we get more followers and things like that, then I'll start using it more and utilizing it more. But anyways, our YouTube is Leaving Today Podcast, and then you can find me on Facebook at jes.farfan, and then Instagram is Storybook Jess, and that I have my Snapchat code there. You can find me on Snapchat at jes.farfan for all of the Disneyland adventures.
All right.
And I don't tweet.
Okay. Udi, where can people find you for more witty banner?
For Witty Banner, you can find me at all my socials, which are Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. Those are all HAXGOALIE, Haxgoalie. You can also find me on my other show, which is Bad or Bad. That is badorbad.com, Facebook/BadOrBad. On the Instagram and Twitter is Team Bad or Bad. And our YouTube page is Bad or Bad, all one word. Up there right now would be Avengers. And Deadpool 2 should be
coming soon.
We recorded it literally 2 days ago.
All right.
Yeah.
For me, you can find me at Instagram at Leaving Today Podcast, or you can email me at info@leavingtodaypodcast.com. Links for Jim Korkis' book will be on our webpage for this episode. I encourage you guys all to go out there and order something.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
There's something that if you like Disneyland, you will love something he's written. Okay. All right, guys and girls, thank you so much for listening. It means a lot to us. And until next time, we will see you at the parks.
Good night.
Bye.
Kitty.